good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. A Thursday night that finds us now inside of 48 hours to the Final Four. You will hear Florida and Auburn Saturday night, 5:30 airtime here on 1010XL in the first national semifinal. It will be Duke and Houston in the second national semifinal on Saturday. And, of course, the two winners will do battle on Monday night for the national championship. So we'll certainly spend a lot of time on that. We are also tonight now 3 weeks away from the NFL draft. 21 days away on April the 24th. Of course, the Jaguars hold the 5th pick in the first round, 10 picks overall. We will certainly spend a lot of time on that tonight as well. Guest lineup looks like this in the first hour. JP Acosta of SB Nation will stop by towards the top of the 9 o'clock hour as we look back on the Jaguar offseason, look ahead to the draft. And are we buying the Jalen Walker talk, the Ashton Genty talk? Are we getting maybe less warm, maybe lukewarm now on Mason Graham? We'll certainly talk about all of that with JP Acosta of SB Nation. We'll look around the AFC South a little bit as well. Coming up in less than 20 minutes, my buddy Mark Wise of ESPN. The man has forgotten more about college basketball than I'll ever know. He is a college basketball encyclopedia, man. And we will have Mark on to talk Florida Auburn, a little Duke Houston as well. So Mark Wise of ESPN joins us in less than 15 minutes. But we're glad you're with us here on a Thursday on Hacker After Dark. Every night right here on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So about an hour ago over there at Jaguars.com, and I can't say enough about our buddies at Jaguars.com. They do a terrific job with things like this. The Hunt debuted, this season's first edition of The Hunt. And if you haven't seen The Hunt in years past, every, I guess, couple of months roughly, they'll put out about a 30-minute film almost, a documentary, just kind of a behind-the-scenes look, inner workings about the Jaguar organization. I mean, the folks over at Jaguars.com made Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson seem interesting last year. That's how good they are at their job, right? When you can make Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson seem interesting, you know you're very good. Well, Liam Cohen and James Gladstone and Tony Baselli, obviously, there's going to be a lot of interest there. And if you have not seen the episode yet, I have no doubt that you will. It's on the Jaguar.com website. I'm sure you can find it on a lot of Jaguar social media platforms. And hopefully you'll do that probably at 10 o'clock tonight when Hacker After Dark goes off the air, of course. Because I want to talk to you about one specific thing in this 36-minute episode. 36 minutes. I just watched all of it in the 7 o'clock hour because I knew I wanted to talk about it. And there's a lot of things to talk about. I thought they did a terrific job. I won't give everything away if you haven't seen it. But I thought they did a good job, or a terrific job, quite frankly, following Liam Cohen to his hometown in Rhode Island. Saw him hanging out with his family and talking about how much his grandparents meant to him. That was cool because I was very, very close to my grandmother back in the day. I thought they did a really good job talking about the staff and how every one of the coaches that Liam Cohen hired had numerous other opportunities around the league, but they chose to come to Jacksonville. They did a deep dive into James Gladstone. But I think the one part of this that everybody is going to be talking about tomorrow, so we'll jump the gun a little bit and talk about it tonight, is there was a part about 25 minutes in, roughly, 25 minutes in, where Tony Baselli was with Liam Cohen in a coaching meeting, a staff meeting. Liam Cohen had been addressing the guys, laying out the plan for the staff and whatnot, and he asked Tony if he had anything, to wrap up, and Tony goes in depth a little bit about being excited that he's got the job, being excited that all the coaches are here in Jacksonville. But the one thing that I think everyone's going to talk about, or the one thing that I found the most interesting in this 36-minute piece, is Baselli addressed all the coaches, and I'm going to paraphrase here. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, and even if I did, I couldn't say it anyway on terrestrial radio. But basically he said, look, I've been here since 1995. I'm here when it was nothing. I'm here when there was no team, no culture. We were brand new. We were the new kids on the block, essentially. There was nothing here. And you built it from the ground up. And he helped build it from the ground up. And he said he took this job, meaning the EVP of football operations, because he sees this as a similar point. Ground zero. And I'll just say he put an adjective in front of zero. Wow. I mean, let's examine that for a second. This is Mr. Jaguar, man. This is the first draft pick in franchise history. This is the first Hall of Famer in franchise history. I mean, when you think of the history of the Jacksonville Jaguars, one of the names right at the top of the list, maybe the top of the list, is obviously Tony Baselli. And he essentially, and I understand what he's saying, and I'm going to give you my interpretation of what I believe he was saying in a moment, because I don't want you to jump to any conclusions necessarily. He's basically saying there's a lot of similarities to 1995 here, right? He's saying, I was here when we had nothing. I was here when there was nothing here. We had to build it from the ground up. I see a similar point right now, as in building it now back up from the ground up. And that's not saying we don't have good players, because we do. Trevor Lawrence is a good player. Trayvon Walker, Joshua Hines-Allen, Tyson Campbell, Foye Oluokun, Eric Armstead, right? ETN, Brian Thomas Jr. There are good players here. The cupboard's not bare. They're good players. But let's be honest, guys. The Jaguars have had 2 playoff seasons in 18 years. They've been to the playoffs twice in 18 years. It might not be ground zero, but we're in the lobby, right? We're on the first floor of a high rise. If the high rise was 99 and you revisited the high rise in 2017, I don't know if we're on the concrete in the parking lot, but we're no higher than the lobby right now. 2 playoff appearances in 18 years. And when you get Tony Baselli on this The Hunt episode saying he sees similarities to when he arrived in 1995, building it from the ground up. This is where we are, ground zero. I think that resonates with a lot of people. It certainly resonated with me. Again, all the talk about retooling and it's going to be a quick fix here in Jacksonville. Hey, you know what? Maybe it will be. Maybe a couple of bounces of the ball go the Jaguars' way. Maybe coaching, being better coached. Maybe these players getting more out of these players. Maybe that is all there is to it. But again, you don't lose 18 out of 23 if you're retooling. You lose 23 out of 23 if you're one of the worst teams in the league. Maybe the worst team in the league in the last season and a half. This is a rebuild. I mean, it is. 10 free agents. They're going to draft 10 guys. I mean, even if all 10 rookies don't make the roster, let's say 8 of them do. That's 18 new guys without even thinking about it. Not counting undrafted free agents, not counting anybody. That's a third of your roster, brand new. You didn't re-sign any of your old free agents. You released veterans like Kirk and Darby and Duvernay and Ingram. This is a rebuild. Now, you don't often have a rebuild with a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence or with players like Walker or Hines-Allen or Campbell or Oluokun or BTJ. I mean, I get that. But in the NFL sense of a rebuild, that's what this is. Don't take my words for it. Listen to what Tony Baselli said in The Hunt. That's on Jaguars.com. Are you okay with that as a Jaguar fan? Whether you are or not, that's kind of the reality, but I'm curious if you're okay with that. Do you understand now that this team has been awful for years and years and years and years? It's putting lipstick on a pig at times, trying to talk about, oh, they went 9-8 in 2023. Well, yeah, but they lost 5 out of their last 6. Again, they went to the playoffs twice in 18 years, man. They've been to the playoffs 4 times in the last 26 years. It's putrid. It's ridiculous. But I do believe, and I feel strongly about this, I love what they've done here with James Gladstone and Liam Cohen and Tony Baselli. I love it. And maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. No one's ever accused me of being an ultra-positive Jaguar guy. Maybe in my old age, now at the old age of 41, maybe I'm loosening up a little bit. I've been accused of being very negative when it comes to the Jaguars, not very positive. But I love what they've done. And I love that they seemingly realize the task in front of them. Listen to Tony Baselli's words in The Hunt on Jaguars.com. Similar to when he arrived here in 1995, when they had to build it from the ground up. That's what he sees as a similarity right now in 2025, 30-plus years later. Building it again from ground zero, as he described it. There's vision. I like what they're doing, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. This was not a good football team last year. Far from it. And this has not been a good football team for the overwhelming majority of the last 18 years. Tony Baselli realizes that and realizes that things need to change. Liam Cohen, James Gladstone are brought in to enact that change, this new coaching staff. You bring in the most outside free agents of any team in the NFL. You're the only team in the NFL that doesn't re-sign any of your own guys. You got 10 draft picks coming up in 3 weeks. It is a rebuild. Good news for you is, again, not a lot of rebuilds have Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback or some of the great players like BTJ, Walker, Hines Allen, Campbell, etc. So you have a leg up on some of the rebuilds that we've seen, but it is much closer to a rebuild than a retooling. Your benefit is the AFC South is hot garbage. Awful. So it could be a quick rebuild. I'm not saying it won't be. It could be a year, 2-year timeline instead of a 3, 4, 5-year timeline. But if I'm convinced of one thing after watching The Hunt on Jaguars.com, when you have Tony Baselli, Mr. Jaguar, saying he sees similarities right now to when he arrived here as a rookie player in 1995, I think that puts into perspective just how bad this franchise had gotten. And maybe we in the media, maybe you as the fan base, maybe all of us, for the better part of the last 2 decades, at times we're trying to put lipstick on a pig. That's at least the way I'm looking at it. Well done by Jaguars.com. I cannot recommend you enough to go watch that. I think you will find it very, very interesting. The Hunt, which debuted earlier this evening. More on that. Your thoughts, by the way. Hit me up on the text line. Designed by Lifetime Enclosures. 641-1010. Did you think this was a rebuild? Did you think, oh, there's a couple of players away? Well, actions speak louder than words. And the actions of this football team, with what they've done in free agency, the guys they've brought in, the guys they've let go, the guys they have not re-signed, it's clear as day now, this is not a retooling. This is a rebuild. And as you as a Jaguar fan, are you okay with that? And again, guys, I'm not saying it's going to be a 4 or 5 year process. That's not what all rebuilds are. Rebuilds can be very quick. Ask the Washington Commanders. A year ago, the Washington Commanders were awful. They just drafted Jaden Daniels, number 2 in the draft. They had a brand new head coach. They ended up in the NFC Championship game. Rebuilds can be very quick in today's day and age in the NFL. But that's where the Jaguars are. Your thoughts on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at 641-1010. Again, we will get into the Jaguars more coming up here in just a little bit. JP Acosta, SB Nation, joins me to react to the offseason that has been to this point, to look ahead to the draft, to talk a little Mason Graham, a little Abdul Carter, a little Travis Hunter. What about Jalen Walker? With that Jalen Walker talk, the edge linebacker out of Georgia, that's picking up a little more steam as the days tick off until the NFL draft here in Jacksonville. Could that be the direction they go at 5? We'll talk all about that with JP Acosta. Coming up next, we're inside of 48 hours away from Auburn and Florida. 5:30 broadcast time, 6:09 tip time. You'll hear it right here on 1010XL. A man that has called many Florida games in his day, including many this year on ESPN and the SEC Network, is my buddy Mark Wise. He joins me next. Let's talk Florida. Let's talk Auburn. Let's talk Duke and Houston. And let's look at what Todd Golden has done to get the Gator basketball team just 2 wins away from a national championship. Mark Wise of ESPN joins us next on a Thursday night here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
We feel like children.
They are the drill.
We're closer than brothers. His brothers always fight.
Mornings
We really have a relationship that's way, way past that.
on 1010XL.
We've grown up.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Millard Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Millard Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Millard Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Millard Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey man, what's that noise?
Do you hear it too? You can hear it, right?
Yeah, it's your air conditioner. It's like a grinding or a rattling.
And it's getting on your nerves, right? Like it's eating at your brain and you can't think straight, but it just keeps grinding and squeaking and taunting and nagging. You're not good enough. You're a failure. Why can't you be more like your sister, the lawyer?
Yeah, I don't hear that last part so much.
Yeah, but it's not cool, right, Jason?
It could definitely be cooler. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we can totally repair whatever that noise is and get your AC working smoothly and silently. We fix these things all the time.
So I won't be a failure?
Life should be enjoyed. If some irritating, broken air conditioner is making you crazy, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Homeowners, listen up. It's time to start fresh in 2025. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto is here to help take control of your finances in 2025 by lowering your house payments and consolidating that nagging debt. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Right now, Loan Pronto has some of the most competitive offers for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans, starting in the low 5s APR. If your current rate is over 6%, don't settle for paying too much. Even if you're in process with another lender, call Loan Pronto now. Lock in at a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. It's fast, easy, and hassle-free. Get your personalized Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees. Call now, 904-999-1508, or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLS consumeraccess.org.
This Day in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 3rd, 2002, San Francisco Giants outfielder Barry Bonds becomes the second player in baseball history to begin the season with consecutive 2 home run games.
What is the busiest airport in the world?
Southern Oak Insurance is proud to continue offering coverage statewide. Financial stability makes Southern Oak Insurance a wise choice for your homeowner's insurance needs. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport is the busiest airport in the world, serving over 100 million passengers.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I only like to recommend the best, which is why I'm proud to say that I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. And now's a great time to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Don't wait. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com for quality you can trust and savings you can't miss. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging? Spring is here, a time to renew. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, here to help you look and feel your best with minimal to no downtime. Rejuvenate your skin, strengthen your core, and sculpt your body with advanced face and body treatments designed to restore your youthful glow and confidence. Just in time for spring and summer. A healthier, more fit you starts now. Visit dermagnify.com and step into spring looking and feeling your best.
Out with the old, in with the organized. Mia here for my friends at Closets by Design. Freshen up your home this spring with a custom organization solution. For a limited time, take advantage of our spring special and enjoy exclusive savings on closets, garages, home offices, and more. That's 40% off with an additional 50% off with 12-month special financing through April. Spring on this deal before it's gone. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation with Closets by Design.
Denny Thompson here. If you haven't heard, Tyson Sound and Security has a house built right inside their showroom, showcasing complete home automation and security systems. You have to see it to believe it. This setup can recognize intruders who approach your door and alerts them to leave if there's a break-in. Keep your family safe with the most state-of-the-art technology. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. And then there were 4, Houston and Duke, and of course Florida and Auburn. And you will hear the Gators and the Tigers right here on 1010XL Radio Saturday evening out in San Antonio in the first national semifinal. Let's talk about the Final Four. Let's talk how we got here and what we expect out in San Antonio with my buddy Mark Wise of ESPN. He's joined us all tournament long, and we certainly appreciate Mark taking more time out for us now here on Hacker After Dark. Mark, how we doing, man?
Hacker, I'm doing great, man, but I got to ask you this question. Who needs Cinderella? Come on, this is heavyweight college hoops at its finest. I think Saturday will be fabulous.
Yeah, I think Saturday's going to be fantastic. First time since 2008 that all 4 number 1 seeds make it to the Final Four. Mark, I'll be honest, man. I thought it was over with 2:50 to go. Texas Tech is up 9. I was already compiling my thoughts on how I was going to spin this for Gator fans. And then Thomas Houck and Walter Clayton, and one of the great comebacks, quite frankly, in Gator basketball history.
Yeah, as you have heard me say over the years, I think you need certain ingredients to make a run to the Final Four. You've got to have NBA talent. You've got to be in Ken Palm's top 40 offensive and defensive efficiency. You've got to be healthy. And then lastly, somewhere along the way, you got to catch a break. And Florida caught a break when Tech missed the 2 front ends, but that was also calculated. They were trying to foul Toppin previous and ended up fouling Williams instead, and then did foul Toppin on the second time. But that was analytically driven, and I don't know that there's a lot of coaching staffs in the country that would foul in that situation with 2:40 to go or 2.5 minutes to go in the game. I think most people would probably play it out even down 6. Florida did not. They went with the analytics, and it worked out beautifully. And, Walter Clayton deserves all the accolades he's getting as a closer, and he's been fantastic. But he is not able to be the closer if Thomas Houck doesn't do what he did prior to that. Remember that this whole thing started with Houck getting an offensive rebound, which in turn led to his first made 3. So you're right to mention Houck. He just sensational in the game with the 20 and 11.
Yeah, Thomas Houck was an absolute beast, no question about that. 4 threes for the Gators on that run in the final 3 minutes to win the game. And clearly the shot that everybody's talking about, Mark, is the second Walter Clayton 3 with a minute to go. You've called a lot of college basketball in your day, man. That was wild. To be inside the paint, to back it out, and to turn around in the blink of an eye. The Steph Curry comparison, whatever. Curry's the best point guard of all time. I think that we're obviously way, way, way premature. But
way ahead of ourselves.
That was Steph Curry-esque, though, was it not?
Well, what I want to know is if and I'm going to ask Clayton this at some point in time, when he's got the ball in the paint and he's heading back out, when did it dawn on him, I'm going to shoot this? Because I don't think there's players on the planet that would be dribbling away from the rim, and I don't care what level you're talking about, that would be dribbling away from the rim in that moment with the spotlight as bright as it was, with as much on the line as there was, and to have the mentality of, hey, I'm going to shoot this. I'm going to dribble this back. I mean, it was just a stupid good play.
You know what it kind of reminded me of? It reminded me of Reggie Miller, 95 East Finals or Eastern Semis against the Knicks, the steal, right, where he dribbled it back to the three-point line and shot it.
Correct. Don't tell Spike Lee that. He'll have a nervous breakdown. I thought, and I'm like everybody else, I thought Texas Tech, especially in the second half, for 17 minutes, they were the better team. I thought that they did something to Florida I hadn't seen a lot of teams do, and that's they owned the middle third of the floor with their offense, whether you're talking about pick and roll, pick and short roll, pick and pop opportunities. Florida never got a handle on Texas Tech in the second half defensively. I'm sure that Auburn, Bruce Pearl, I'm sure they will be dissecting that video. And I would expect Auburn, who runs a lot of middle ball screens with Broom, especially after they do their side-to-side kind of false action stuff and come back to that, I'm sure Florida will get a heavy dose of that.
Mark Wise of ESPN with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. The Final Four Saturday, Florida and Auburn. You will, of course, hear that game right here on 1010XL radio. Mark, here's my thought on the Gators to this point. Some will call it lucky that they are here. You could argue UConn outplayed them for a large majority of the game in the round of 32, and you can certainly argue that Texas Tech outplayed them for a large majority of the game in the Elite Eight, and I would not argue with you. But it doesn't matter if they're lucky. The fact is they're here, right? It's 0-0. They're here. It doesn't matter how they got here. They're here. Now,
let me give you a similar argument because everybody's talking about Duke hasn't been tested yet in a tight game. Well, is that Duke's fault? I mean, they played so well, they haven't needed to be pushed in any way, shape, or form. So I think it's very similar in terms of the two comparisons. I just gave you I can give you the 06-07 moments where Florida got lucky en route to the Final Four. So most everybody catches a break along the way. UConn last year didn't need one. Villanova with Brunson and DiVincenzo and their second title, they didn't need one because they're just waxing everybody. So I'm like everybody else. I think I can make a case for any of the 4 teams winning this week. But if you had me pick, right now Duke has to be the favorite. Now I have Florida in my one bracket. I know you're a 16 or 17 bracket guy.
Yeah.
But in my one bracket, I have Duke and Florida in the finals, and I have Duke winning.
Here's my concern about the Gators, right? Call it lucky, catching breaks, like you call it, whatever it is. They're here.
Yeah.
But they need to find the team that they were in Nashville at the SEC tournament. Because, Mark, that team can win the national championship. If they play like they did against UConn, they play like they did against Texas Tech, Auburn might beat them by double digits. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I don't know about that. I think I've looked at this kind of every which way possible. I'd be shocked that this is not a 2-possession game with 5 minutes to go and away you go. I think it'll probably, in my view, I think it will be a little bit lower scoring than people think because both teams now have had will have a complete week to work on the things that they want to do defensively to take away the offensive action. It's going to boil down to making shots. There's no, I mean, they're going to work on defense. They're going to talk about rebounding. But as I've mentioned to you many times, and you ask coaches, what do you have to do to win? Defend and rebound, defend. No, you don't. No, you don't. Florida didn't win the game the other day because they defended and rebounded. They won because down the stretch, they made shots. Duke is winning because they're making shots. They're making shots at such a high clip, nobody's even been close to them. So, yeah, I think each of the 4 teams have a chance. I think there's a path for each of the 4. But if you're asking me about the Auburn or Florida game, I think rebounding will come to the forefront. I think whichever team can win the glass will probably win the game.
Final moments, Mark Wise of ESPN. So I got some Auburn buddies that are talking about, revenge, right? Revenge for the game on February 8th. That's their motivator. Let me give you a motivator for the Gators. And I'm not saying you necessarily, but there are some national media members, and quite frankly, even some media members that cover the SEC, that apparently just don't think that game in Auburn happened. Because even after that game on February 8th, Auburn was still higher than Florida in all the power rankings. Right. Auburn was still a number 1 national seed. Auburn never got underneath Florida in the top 25. It's as if Florida never went in there and won, and I think the Gator players are very much aware of that.
Oh, I trust me, both coaches are looking for any angle possible to get that extra mental push or edge or playing on a cliff, whatever analogy you want to use. So I think they'll both be ready to play. Here's what I think about the first game. Florida made 13 threes in the game. They played without Elijah Martin, but Klobuchar made 3 of 3 from beyond the arc. I don't anticipate him playing on Saturday unless Florida's in some kind of backcourt foul situation. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit different. Denver Jones is not going to play the way he did in the first game. I think he and Baker Mazzara combined to have 8 points in the game. I don't see that happening again. So I think both teams will draw on that first game and use it to their advantage however they see fit.
Houston and Duke is the nightcap. And look, you've talked about it. Duke is probably the favorite coming in. I look at what Houston did to that Tennessee team, and I was just marveled by their defense. I mean, that was crazy what Houston did. So you got the best defensive team in the land against the best offensive team in the land. The problem for Houston is that I believe Duke is also top 5 in defense as well.
Right. I've talked about people don't understand how big Duke is. They start no one. I don't even think anybody in their rotation is smaller than 6'6". And we talk about Cooper Flagg and we talk about Knipple and the fact that Proctor makes threes. But I got to tell you, Malawach is a problem down in that high-rent district on both ends of the floor, whether you're talking about scoring at the rim, second chance opportunities, or being a rim protector defensively. He presents all kinds of problems. I think the path for Houston to win, I think there is a path because this is Kelvin Sampson's best offensive team. Mm-hmm. Number 1 3-point shooting team in the country, percentage-wise. They just don't take as many as a lot of other people, but they do make them at a high clip. I think I think they average 8 made threes a game. I don't think you're going to get second chance points against Duke. I just don't see that. But because of Malawatch, because of how good Cooper Flagg is as a secondary defender, I just don't think you're going to get second chance opportunities. So I think if you're going to beat Duke, you have to have a double-figure presence at the arc. So Houston, who averages 8 make threes a game, I'm saying they have to make 10 or more. Now, Arizona did that and made 12. Still didn't win, but they certainly pushed Duke in that game. So you've got to have, in my opinion, a 3-point presence. Now, here is the good news for Auburn and Florida fans. They both make a lot of threes and shoot a lot of threes. So I think there is a pathway to beat Duke from these 3 teams. Here's what I don't like, Hacker, about Houston. You know I'm a big KenPom guy. Mm-hmm. And that the NCAA tournament winner the last 10 years has been top 20 offensive and defensive efficiency, with the offense being better. Use Duke as an example. Number 1 offensively, number 4 defensively. Of the Final Four teams, the only one that's upside down, where their defense is better than their offense, Houston.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, and you look at the teams that lost in the Elite Eight. I mean, Tennessee is built upside down. Texas Tech was not built upside down. So when you look at Michigan State, upside down, 25th offensively, 5th defensively. At the end of the day, man, you have got to be able to score to win this thing.
Mark, as we say goodbye, 2 final thoughts on the Gators. Number 1, already an uber successful season. My goodness, first Final Four in a decade, regardless of what happens in San Antonio. And we're going to have 1 or at a max 2 more times to see Walter Clayton in a Florida Gator uniform. I call you a college basketball encyclopedia, and a couple of chapters in that encyclopedia would be your knowledge on the Gator basketball program and its history. Where would you put Walter Clayton among the Gator greats of all time?
I think he's got to be up there with in terms of his ability to be so even keeled and to learn the position and weave and bob between the scoring point guard that he has become and the off guard that he played most of the time last year. I think in the backcourt, you've got to put him at the top. I don't remember a player who has been this impactful with his offensive ability. Think about how versatile he is, because I don't know if you thought this watching the Texas Tech game. At the end of the game, I'm wild like everybody else by Clayton and his ability to make shots when the lights are the brightest. But I thought, okay, he probably finished with 18 or 20 points, somewhere around there. And he had 30 because he gets to the free throw line. So his versatility has grown leaps and bounds as an offensive player. I think I'm not going to put him in the front court conversation with because it's not fair, I don't think, to compare. But when you talk about Noah and Horford and their NBA careers, I'm not going to put him in that conversation. But in the backcourt, I've got him right up there at the top.
Are you sticking with your bracket, Florida and Duke, and then Duke ultimately wins it all?
Yeah, I am now, because it's the only bracket I filled out. I did it before the tournament started. I'll be glad to show anybody who wants to look at it. I had the Final Four team I missed was Houston, and I had Tennessee beating them, and I don't know what in the world I was thinking about. It's hard enough, and I love what Meshack brings to Tennessee. I love his grit. I love his story. I love his determination. I've loved covering him. But it's hard enough to score against Houston when it's 5 against 5. Meshack is just not an offensive threat. And so when I said last week that Tennessee, Milicic and Gainey both had to play well, because I thought they had to make up for the shortcomings of Meshack on the offensive end. Well, Gainey did his part. Milicic was a no-show. Mm-hmm. But they needed them both offensively. Houston just swallowed them up in that game. And then the ability of Houston and Kelvin Sampson's teams to make threes is completely different for them, man. It's a different look offensively. I think they've got a shot at Duke, but it starts at the 3-point line.
Mark Wise of ESPN has joined us basically every week for the last month or so. Mark, we certainly appreciate it. Hopefully the Final Four will be as good as you and I expect it to be. Enjoy the madness, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Right back at you. Enjoy the games.
More videos, more podcasts, more Jaguars, preps, and college football. More of everything you love about Jacksonville sports at 1010XL.com.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round 1 of draft night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored and administrator, Everbank N.A.
Looking for an engagement ring in Jacksonville? Here's a pop quiz. Which Jacksonville jeweler cuts out the middleman and guarantees the lowest price on any diamond?
I'm thinking it's...
No, it's Beard's Diamonds. Question 2. Which jeweler in the town center has thousands of designer engagement rings and a multi-million-dollar diamond inventory?
I'm going to say...
No, it's Beard's Diamonds. Question 3. Which jeweler in Jacksonville offers an unbiased diamond education, a lifetime upgrade, and free maintenance for life?
How about
Dude, you should have learned by now it's Beard's Diamonds. Final question. Which jewelry store in Jacksonville hasn't been sold a few times and is currently not owned by a national conglomerate?
Beard's Diamonds?
Ding, ding, ding. Now you're getting it. Beard's Diamonds guarantees a better selection, an unbeatable price, superior warranties with no corporate rule books, no commission salespeople, and no chain store atmosphere. Beard's Diamonds, Jacksonville's jeweler. St. John's Town Center.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
You know the players, so you pick them.
How many majors can the guy win? It's fantasy golf at the Masters. Win $1,000 of jewelry from Beard's Diamonds.
Enter at 1010XL.com.
Teed up by Pella Windows and Doors.
Has someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354-5645.
At Performance Painting, we've spent decades protecting commercial properties with durable, long-lasting coatings. And we can bring the same expertise when painting the exterior of your home. With industry-leading materials and a proven process, we extend the life of your home, reducing maintenance costs and preserving its value. Now, for a limited time, save $500 when you hire us to paint your home's exterior. Just mention 1010XL. Go to performancepainting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting! Guys, your lawn's the home field. Now you can champion your St. Augustine grass. TopDressing.com just hit Jacksonville with a game-changing patented process. Aerate and transform your turf into a fairway-worthy masterpiece. Less water, shorter cuts, and the envy of every neighbor. No one else delivers a perfect 10 lawn like this. Visit TopDressing.com and dominate your block with the same process that golf courses use. Top dress your lawn like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit SurfsidePools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
Tired of supermarket produce that's traveled thousands of miles before you get it? Treat your family to farm-fresh, Florida-grown fruits and veggies delivered right to your home with Doorbell Farms. No supply chain issues or questionable origins, just seasonal produce handpicked from local farmers. Subscribe monthly and enjoy the best local farm produce delivered right to you. Sign up now at doorbellfarms.com, connecting real people to real family farms. Doorbellfarms.com.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T here, and I know that getting into an accident is stressful, but getting the proper care doesn't have to be. That's why I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. Even if you're at fault, your insurance covers you. And remember, you have the right to choose your own doctor. Even a minor accident can cause whiplash for years if it goes untreated. So don't wait. Call the auto accident experts at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Your recovery starts today.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. A lot of NFL news. I did want to throw this little tidbit at you. You know, we told you last night, Bowles High School football already had a couple of big-time commitments. An offensive lineman going to Miami, a wide receiver going to Clemson. To see what happened earlier today, Mike Caldwell, the former defensive coordinator here in Jacksonville, his son, Simeon Caldwell, plays linebacker at Bowles, projected as a safety in the college game. All he does today is commit to Ohio State. Whew. Look, we're going to have the Bowles games here on 1010XL as we always do. Denmark, they are in Baldwin's district, right?
And Wolfson.
And Wolfson, yeah. So they got an Ohio State linebacker, a Miami offensive lineman, and a Clemson wide receiver so far. Now, the Bowls are probably pretty good in 2025. Matt Toblin over there has one heck of a program, no doubt about that. JP Acosta, SB Nation, comes up in about 15 minutes or so. We'll look back on the Jaguar offseason. And we will certainly look ahead to the draft. Speaking of the draft, you see it more and more, man. Mason Graham to Jacksonville. I saw a couple of CBS Sports mocks earlier today from guys that I have on, guys that I respect. Chris Trapasso, Josh Edwards, both have Mason Graham to Jacksonville. That is the common thought among basically everybody. But it would be nice to hear a differing of opinion, right? You could only hear Mason Graham to Jacksonville so much. It would be nice to hear an alternative. Let me present you with Todd McShay earlier today. I saw this. Todd McShay, obviously a well-established draft guy, been so for many years. He makes the argument, basically saying, why not Jalen Walker from Georgia to the Jacksonville Jaguars? Jalen Walker, 6'1", 245 pounds, edge rusher / linebacker. Pretty much everybody agrees that Jalen Walker is really good at getting to the quarterback. But Jalen Walker's got something that I guess James Gladstone loves, and it's that word intangibles. I've talked to some people that cover that Georgia football program. I've talked to some people that cover the SEC, and I've talked to a lot of draft people. Whenever you bring up Jalen Walker, you bring up the guy is an alpha. The guy is unbelievable leadership. The guy was the star on the Georgia defense this year, and he went to Kirby Smart to ask to play on kickoff coverage when the team was struggling in that department. How many times does a star linebacker ask to play on kickoff coverage? I wouldn't imagine very often, or at least I haven't heard about it very often. What does James Gladstone say? Intangibly rich, right? To bring into our ecosystem. We want the intangibles. Well, Jalen Walker's got that. And I don't necessarily know if it would be overdrafting. Jalen Walker is in the top 10 of all these mock drafts. I've been told by numerous people his absolute floor is 9 to New Orleans. He's projected number 8 to Carolina a bunch. Just remember that name. If I were a betting man, I would still probably bet right now that Mason Graham is certainly high on the radar. But as we talked about, right, if you listen to the first segment, or if you watch The Hunt on Jaguars.com that debuted a couple hours ago here this evening, this is a rebuild here in Jacksonville. Don't listen to me about it. Listen to Tony Baselli in the Hunt episode on Jaguars.com. He's a pretty good source, right? Listen to what he says. He sees similarities from 1995 to now when they had to build it from the ground up. He sees similarities now, building it up from ground zero. Well, if that's the case, yeah, they have a needed interior defensive line. Well, okay, great. Is Mason Graham the missing ingredient for this team to go to the Super Bowl? If they draft Mason Graham, do they become one of the favorites in the AFC? Of course not. I'm not saying Mason Graham's not a good football player, and I'm also not saying Mason Graham wouldn't make me happy if that were ultimately the pick. But if you're the Jaguars and you basically realize that you are much more in a rebuild than a retooling, pick the best available player, man. And if Jalen Walker on your board is the best available player at number 5, you draft him. Heck, I'm not sure if Ashton Genty is not the best available player, you draft him. Look, within reason, right? You're not going to take Shedeur Sanders. I'm not saying anything outlandish like that. But at number 5, if you have Walker, Genty, Tyler Warren, Mason Graham, whomever, Will Campbell, I don't care about positional needs on the team. Give me the best player, and you'll figure it out. Teams that are in rebuilds don't draft for need. They need to just get good football players. And if you deem Jalen Walker as a better football player than Mason Graham, but maybe he's not at a, quote, bigger positional need, I could care less. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Boy, it's a good night to be Trey McBride, the tight end for the Arizona Cardinals. Did you guys see this earlier today? 4 years, $76 million, $60+ million of that guaranteed. Trey McBride becomes the highest paid tight end in the history of the NFL. Yeah. Take that one to the sports bar this weekend. Impress your friends. Bet them a beer on who the highest paid tight end is in the NFL. How many of them are going to say Trey McBride? But he is. He's a darn good player, too. He's buried in Arizona. You don't ever really see him, and that team's awful for the most part. But that guy is a stud. And you know who's got a big smile on his face right now? Is Brock Bowers' agent. Brock Bowers keeps doing what he did last year. He'll be the highest paid tight end in 2 years. It's also a good night to be Geno Smith. 75 million reasons why it's good to be Geno Smith. 2-year contract extension with the Las Vegas Raiders. What a comeback story. Geno Smith, you thought his career was over, right? Not so fast. Was really good for the last couple of years in Seattle, comes to Las Vegas, and now gets a $75 million contract extension. And Joe Milton, former Tennessee Volunteer, former Michigan Wolverine. He's now a former New England Patriot. He gets traded today to the Dallas Cowboys. What does that mean? I don't know. But I like Joe Milton, always have. From when I covered him down in Central Florida in high school, he now looks like he gets the opportunity to be Dak Prescott's backup with the Dallas Cowboys. More NFL thoughts, more on the Jaguars. J.P. Acosta, From SB Nation, love talking ball with JP Acosta. He joins me next. Let's review the Jaguar offseason. Let's look ahead to the Jaguar draft. Let's talk AFC South and more. JP Acosta, SB Nation, joins us next. Hacker After Dark on a Thursday. And we're glad you're with us, Jacksonville.
On campus.
7 years of college down the drain.
On the inside and on XL Primetime. What's the deal with the show? Lead college football insider Matt Hayes.
How do you like being in a real studio?
2 to 4 weekdays on 1010XL.
Baloo here for Smunez Vision. Why Smunez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smunez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smunez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smunez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmunezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Open early and open late. Dailies is always there, making things easy for you to cruise in and cruise out. So hit Dailies Cold Case the next time you're craving a cold one. Bud Light by the case. Plus plenty of singles to choose from. Corona to the King of Beers to Stella or a Natty. They're all cold at Dailies.
Your Jacksonville Sharks are back and ready to take the field for the 15th anniversary season. The Drive for Five starts Sunday, April 6th as your Sharks take on the Las Vegas Nighthawks. Ask about special ticket pricing for all you sports teams at jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. 904-621-0700.
Go Sharks! Prosser here. Sharks football is back. Come celebrate the 15th anniversary season this Sunday, April 6th, as the Sharks take on the Las Vegas Nighthawks in their home opener at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Already 1-0, the Sharks look to crush Vegas on Pirates and Princesses Night. Have some family fun and break out your best pirate hat or tiara.
We're not but humble pirates.
For tickets and special pricing for youth sports teams, go to jacksharks.com or call 904-621-0700. That's jacksharks.com or 621-0700.
Call 904-500-COOL. Ideal Conditions.
Ideal Conditions Heating and Air Conditioning is your go-to for all AC repairs and replacements. Just ask your AC. For exceptional service, call 904-500-COOL or visit idealconditionsjacks.com to schedule your estimate today.
Call 904-500-COOL.
Honk if you see us. Call for service.
Ideal Conditions.
Idealconditionsjacks.com.
This is Mark Nato. My sons and I have seen the doctors and PAs at Southeast Ortho for everything from lumbar spine stress to elbow tendonitis. Southeast has always been there, been truthful, and always been on point. Everything they say happens. We can't thank them enough for what they've done and the great care that they have taken of our sons.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. You've heard us talk about it. Window World, the #1 window replacement company in the USA, selling over 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years.
That's a lot of satisfied customers and why J.D. Powers has awarded Window World Best in Customer Satisfaction 3 out of 4 years.
Window World stands behind their slogan, simply the best for less. With Window World, you get top quality windows at a price that leaves more of your money in your bank account, and you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement industry. When compared to our competition, there is none. See for yourself. Call the competition. Get quotes from them. But before you buy, get Window World's free estimate and compare the quality of the windows and the price.
You'll see.
And when your new Window World windows are installed and they're saving you money on your energy bills, if anything goes wrong with those windows, Window World and I will be there to make it right. That's my guarantee.
Call Window World today. Start saving money on your new windows and your energy bills and take vacation with your savings. Window World, online at windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors and siding.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Mia here, and let me tell you about one of our area's best resorts, the Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa. The Sawgrass Marriott is not only a great destination for a vacation, but it is also a great destination for dining on the Florida's first coast. 1912 Ocean Bar and Rooftop is now open on Ponte Vedra Boulevard, featuring Ponte Vedra's only oceanfront rooftop bar and lounge. Serving finely crafted cocktails and delectable eats, it's open daily from 4 to 10 with complimentary valet parking. working.
As a Florida homeowner, you're no stranger to mosquito problems. And although it's tempting to use DIY methods to get rid of them, mosquitoes are relentless. That's why it's important to enlist the help of the mosquito experts at Florida Pest Control. At Florida Pest Control, we offer specialized treatment solutions that are effective against mosquito infestations and are committed to keeping our customers protected year-round. For your free quote, give us a call or visit flapest.com today. Florida Pest Control, your local mosquito control experts.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, what an offseason for the Jacksonville Jaguars. From the head coaching search to the general manager search, they were one of the most active teams in NFL free agency. And now here we sit, basically 3 weeks away from the NFL draft, where the Jaguars hold the 5th pick in round number 1. Let's talk about all of it with JP Acosta of SB Nation, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. JP, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, JP, we always appreciate it. All right, you and I haven't spoke since free agency. The Jaguars brought in 10 outside free agents, and they didn't re-sign any of their own free agents, which is probably equally as interesting. Your thoughts on basically the turning over of the roster here in Jacksonville?
Well, I think the first thing that stood out to me was they were trying to get rid of all the Trent Baalke's free agent signings, or almost all of them.
Yeah.
You know, they traded away Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram was let go, and all the free agents that Trent Baalke signed were ultimately released, including Ronald Darby. It just shows to me how much they want to get rid of the whole Baalke, Peterson, I don't want to say stench, but they're getting rid of that old regime. So that's the first thing that stood out. The second thing is I think all the signings helped elevate the floor of the team. And I think that's what the plan was. Is when you hear James Gladstone, the GM, talk about what he wants to do with this team, how he wants to build a team, where he comes from with the Rams and how he helped change the Rams process in the offseason. He wants to use free agency to build the floor of the team and then draft your impact players. The Jaguars have, under Trent Baalke, of course, when you have all these early picks, you hit on a few of them. But later on in the draft, that's where they sort of struggle. So at having James Gladstone talk extensively about the fact that they want to try and get floor-raising players in free agency, that's what veterans are for, like a Patrick McCarry, who's played every position on the offensive line. You go out and get a guy like Eric Murray, who can be a reliable safety, Jordan Lewis, who's going to be a very, very good slot corner. So it's really about elevating the floor of this team, and now you can go get your impact difference makers on rookie deals via the NFL draft.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I know Gladstone and even Liam Cohen have talked about raising the floor of the roster. Translation, like you said, and not to put words in your mouth, so I'll say it directly. They thought the floor of the roster sucked last year. I mean, that's basically what it was, right? That's why you bring in 10 guys from the outside. And the fact that they didn't re-sign anybody. I mean, from Andre Sisco to Brandon Sheriff to Luke Farrell to Jeremiah Ledbetter. You know, you go on down the line, you talk about the releases of Duvernay and Darby and Ingram and the trading away of Kirk. I mean, it was wild, all the changeover here. And I do think the floor of the roster is better, JP. A lot of people are underwhelmed here with what the Jaguars did, but I certainly see the vision of what Gladstone and Cohen are thinking.
Yeah, I definitely see the vision. I see what they want to be. And if you follow, like you said, if you follow what Liam Cohen and James Gladstone have said extensively this offseason, they are telling you what they're going to do. You know, they really extensively wanted to try and get established veterans in here to make sure that the floor is high enough for this team. Because the floor just wasn't, obviously, the floor wasn't high enough for this team. If things went wrong, the bottom immediately fell out because the veterans weren't good enough to raise that floor. So I think that they're telling you what they want to do in the offseason and how they executed it. I know it's missing a lot of the splash, but the Jaguars have gone after splash in the last few years, and that hasn't worked out very well for the team.
No, it hasn't. It's only gotten them one playoff win in the last 3 years. Again, JP Acosta of SB Nation with us. And look, you mentioned Macari. He's going to start on the offensive line. Jordan Lewis is going to be a big part of the secondary, as is Eric Murray. I think Robert Hainsey is probably your guy at center, at least the way it looks right now. But I got to tell you, of all the guys they brought in, JP, the most intriguing guy to me is probably De'Ami Brown for the way his season ended in Washington last year. He signs a 1-year kind of prove-it deal, betting on himself. I'm super intrigued at the way that's going to work out here in Jacksonville with him.
I am too. I think with what De'Ami Brown can do in terms of stretching the field vertically, not only will it help bring the Jaguars some more explosiveness, because that has been what not only Doug Peterson wants, but Liam Cohen wants out of Trevor Lawrence, is to throw the ball downfield more. Not only will he do that, but he has the ability to play on the outside, which will let Brian Thomas Jr. move around a little bit more. That is what really stood out to me when Liam Cohen has talked about the offseason and what his plans are for the Jaguars offense. It has been how he moves around Brian Thomas Jr. When you think about hiring Grant Udinsky from Minnesota, one of the things that the Vikings did that kind of helped turn Justin Jefferson into the best receiver in football is they get him into positions via moving him to a slide, getting him in motions and stacks and bunches to try and get him advantages over guys that aren't as good as him. So I think that's something that the Jaguars are going to do with Brian Thomas Jr., but having De'Ami Brown be that vertical field stretcher is going to help that out a lot. I'm really intrigued by it, and it's a small 1-year deal. It's not going to damage the team a lot if it doesn't work.
You know, the Jaguars, even with signing 10 guys, still have a lot of room under the salary cap. No question about that. Now that brings us to the draft. And I think, JP, the common thought here is that, all right, you bring in 10 outside free agents, but not one of them are on the defensive line. And there's been all the talk about Mason Graham. And while I think Mason Graham is appealing to Jacksonville and would make a lot of sense, I don't necessarily know if that's the slam dunk that everybody believes that it is. What's your thought there?
Well, I think with Mason Graham, I don't think it will be a home run pick, but if we're talking in terms of baseball, it's a solid double. It is a solid double, a triple. I think that is something that the Jaguars need up front. When you think about the Jaguars' defensive front, despite having Josh Hines, Allen, and Trayvon Walker, who are both fantastic, both can get double-digit sacks in the season, the Jaguars' pressure rate has still remained low because they can't get pressure from the interior. Whether that be because Eric Armstead was playing defensive end for half his snaps last season, whether it be that Mason Smith just wasn't playing up to snuff in his first year because he still needed that time to develop. Either way, you needed to get an impact difference maker on the interior of the defensive line. Mason Graham isn't the biggest guy. He doesn't have the longest arms, but he wins with leverage, with technique. He's a former wrestler. He's going to win in those ways. He's very refined as a pass rusher. So I think you're going to get somebody who's going to open up some of those lanes for Josh Hines Allen, for Trayvon Walker, and that'll help boost the pass rush that way. So it might not be the sexiest pick, picking a defensive tackle early, but when you think about James Gladstone's last year with the Rams, they drafted Jared Verse, and then they drafted Braden Fisk. Two guys who were immediate impact players on the Rams. Jared Verse obviously went on to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. This is what they do. This is what James Gladstone's MO is. You go and get the proven guys, not as much athletic upside or athletic potential as we want production, and we want to see that you have done it at a high college level.
Couple of more for JP Acosta of SB Nation. JP, I made this point earlier in the week. The Jaguars pick 5th. I think the worst case scenario for them is Cam Ward, and then Carter, Hunter, and Graham are all gone in the top 4. And then at that point, what do you do if you're Jacksonville? People will say, well, Will Campbell. Or people would say Armand Membo. Well, maybe. But every year there's a surprise. And I don't necessarily believe this is going to happen, but I think it's worth at least a conversation. You know, the Jaguars have done enough to where maybe it is best player on their board. And if they can't trade out of 5, what would the shock value be for you if Roger Goodell goes up to that podium and announces either Jalen Walker, Ashton Genty, or Tyler Warren as the 5th overall pick?
I think I'm at the point, both as someone who works over the NFL draft and is also a Jaguars fan, where nothing could really shock me with what the Jaguars do at 5. Jalen Walker, I'd be the most surprised because the fit isn't as clean for a guy who predominantly plays on the edge, also plays a little bit of linebacker, but he's probably a little better going forward instead of running backward in coverage. And you have whatever you do with that linebacker rotation with Devin Lloyd, Foye Oluokun, and Ventrell Miller, whatever happens with them, you got to figure it out with adding Jalen Walker there. I've actually kind of come around on Ashton Genty being the 5th pick, especially if Mason Graham isn't there. When you think about all the gap scheme runs that Liam Cohen brought over from Tampa Bay and wanting to get downhill and break tackles in an instant, it feels like Travis Etienne's time in Jacksonville is sort of coming to an end, with Tank Bigsby being a little bit better and a better fit for this offense. But Genty is going to be so much of a factor in the run and passing game in 2023. He led all running backs in yards per route run. And I think that will make a whole lot of sense if Mason Graham is not there. Tyler Warren, I also see the vision for, but the problem is Liam Cohen's offense never really uses tight ends. Now, Grant Udinski in Minnesota obviously had TJ Hawkinson, but they don't really use tight ends in their offense. It is very receiver and running back heavy, receiver running back dominant in terms of targets. So I think Genty would make a whole lot of sense. Tyler Warren would make a lot of sense, but would have to see what they really plan with him to do. And Jalen Walker, I'd be a little like, okay, I like the player, love the player, but I'm not sure where this fit is going to go.
JP, as we begin to wrap up, again, JP Acosta of SB Nation, you look around the AFC South, and we just talked about Jaguars for the last 10, 11 minutes and how active they were. They've probably had the best offseason of any team in the division, and people here will say, well, wait a minute, it's been underwhelming. Well, look around the division. Titans people are fuming that they had a lot of money to spend and didn't spend any of it except on Dan Moore, who, again, I still can't believe they paid that contract to. The Houston Texans have decided apparently they're just not going to block for C.J. Stroud next year. And Indianapolis now has a full-blown quarterback controversy on their hands already in the month of April after giving Daniel Jones $14 million in a one-year contract. Did I summarize that pretty effectively as your thoughts on the division here in the offseason?
I think you did. I always say the AFC South is like Mad Max Fury Road. Nothing here is ever normal. Everything is chaos. There's going to be fires everywhere. Someone's getting thrown off a tank. But we just got to see what happens during the regular season. I think the Texans trying to recreate their offensive line in one offseason is going to be really interesting to me, especially because, they have the defense to win a Super Bowl. They have the quarterback who might be able to get you there, but the offensive line is still lacking. Their receiver depth is getting a little shaky, especially with Tank Dell coming off another major injury. I just wonder how they're going to address all their issues. The Colts are weird, and it feels like everybody in Indianapolis is on their last straw. Everybody here is like, this might be their last year, with Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard not being able to win as much, picking Anthony Richardson, and that really hasn't worked out yet. And it just feels like they are under so much pressure to win this year because they might not have a job next year. Now, the Titans, I have no idea why the Titans paid all that money to Dan Moore. I think that him getting more money than Ronnie Stanley is definitely a choice. I don't know if I would make that choice, but it is definitely a choice someone can make. But I always say the AFC South, nobody knows what's going to happen until after the division's won. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, it is a wild offseason, no question about it. JP, we got 60 seconds. Leave us with this. Most improved team in the NFL after free agency, and maybe the team that got hurt the most during free agency.
Ooh, most improved team in free agency after the first wave. I think I'm going to go with the Las Vegas Raiders. And then the team that I think I'm leaving with a few more questions about is definitely the Titans.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like what the Raiders have done. Pete Carroll is going to bring stability to them, and I just don't understand what Tennessee did, and I know a lot of people in Nashville don't understand it either, so we're not the only ones. JP Acosta of SB Nation. JP, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville what you have coming out on SB Nation in the coming weeks as the NFL draft approaches.
If you can find my work at SB Nation, I have a whole bunch of draft stories coming out, mock drafts, bigger, deeper stories. Some of my guys this year in the draft class at every position. So make sure you follow along, see what I'm doing, see where I'm going.
JP, I know you're busy, man. Appreciate the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
All right, you too.
Catch Gators basketball on 1010XL.
The Gators' trip to the top makes one more stop in the Lone Star State. Florida Auburn, Saturday at 5:30 on 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code REDEEM to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code REDEEM for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code REDEEM for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
At Performance Painting, we've spent decades protecting commercial properties with durable, long-lasting coatings. And we can bring the same expertise when painting the exterior of your home. With industry-leading materials and a proven process, we extend the life of your home, reducing maintenance costs and preserving its value. Now, for a limited time, save $500 when you hire us to paint your home's exterior. Just mention 1010XL. Go to performancepainting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On April 3rd, 2002, San Francisco Giants outfielder Barry Bonds becomes the second player in baseball history to begin the season with consecutive 2 home run games.
4! Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Are you ready to reclaim your backyard? Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, Surfside Pools is the trusted name for expert pool design. Family owned and operated, they offer pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools transform your backyard into the oasis that you crave. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, where luxury meets leisure.
License number CPC 044080. Tired of supermarket produce that's traveled thousands of miles before you get it? Treat your family to farm fresh, Florida-grown fruits and veggies delivered right to your home with Doorbell Farms. No supply chain issues or questionable origins, just seasonal produce handpicked from local farmers. Subscribe monthly and enjoy the best local farm produce delivered right to you. Sign up now at doorbellfarms.com, connecting real people to real family farms. Doorbellfarms.com.
ET here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, visit my buddy Dr. McGowan at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. You have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits, even if you're at fault. And no matter what you hear, you have the right to choose your own doctor. So I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Their auto experts will guide you in every step of the way to ensure the care that you need. Your recovery starts with McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation.
Beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zero Res. This month, get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet cleaner. You'll get 25% off all cleaning services. That's right, 25% off. Check out 8,000 raving customer reviews if you don't believe me online. Call them, 904-287-5727, or visit their website, ZeroResJacksonville.com. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
It's game time for your business, and Advanced Business Solutions has the winning play. With Xerox copiers, you'll never miss a deadline. Fast, reliable, and built for high performance, Xerox copiers keep your team ahead of the competition. From printing to scanning, Xerox brings the MVPs of efficiency to your office. Ready to make the winning move? Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions. Veteran owned.
Printers, copiers, and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Thank you to JP Acosta, SB Nation, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Coming up in about 10 minutes, my buddy Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark, as we'll not only talk a little Final Four, we'll look at a little spring football going on in both Gainesville and Tallahassee. Dylan Denmark, we are well inside of 48 hours away from Florida and Auburn. I know you have the award-winning Denmark and Marsh podcast, which I imagine you guys will go live on Saturday night with that podcast. Are you going on regardless of the outcome?
I believe so.
All right. So interesting. I'm doing Gator Bites tomorrow.